Welcome to the Google Analytics Optimize and Reporting kind of expansion portion. So this is where we really actually start utilizing Google Analytics to understand, our conversion path and the flow of customers, and just kind of I'm going to go more in detail about how to use the reporting and do some of the segmentation of it to really get a better picture of how your customers are interacting with your website. Okay. So first of all, what we want to do is I'm going to minimize myself here. One of the most valuable tools within the actual interface is the date range right up here, right? So the date range, you can do custom dates within here, right? You can do the last 7 days. There's kind of some pre-selected formats, but you can do custom, right? Going back. Some of the reports, depending on what you're looking at, they only go back 90 days. Some of them go back to the life cycle of it, right? It really just depends on how much information and how much data it's trying to pull through. But for the most part, I'm going to use this comparison one a lot of times, right? I'm going to do last 30. Let's say that to compare. We're going to say previous month versus this month. Takes a little time to load here. So let's go back to from the start here. So basically like I told you, the main reports where I'm kind of operating in are going to be this acquisition and behavior, right? Some of the stuff I'm going to do within audience, I am going to, I have these different types of things up here, and I'll show you how you can filter these. And so this is going to be the additional information, like the data pointer, the user information that it's going to display, right? Is it a unique user? There's a few different options in here, right? That you can do system, you can do custom shared, selected, like no bounce sessions. There's a lot of different metrics that you can include in here to, continue to kind of compare, right? I'm going to use all users, new users, and then I'm also going to do converters because I want to see how many actual converted, right? So put that in there, apply. And as you see in my chart up here, it's going to start looking at the 3 data segments, right? So in this, it's got them broken down as well. Now I can even segment them further by let's say goal set, engaged users. Give me even more data, right? Layer all that. Now, keep in mind, you want to be kind of careful, right? Because you can get so much stuff on here where you can't interpret it. But you do have the capability to do kind of some comparison metrics up there where you're doing like users versus let's say, sessions. Versus new users, all right? And you can see how they're going to interact. Let's get rid of the comparison so it becomes a little bit clearer. So you just want to be mindful of that. Like you can segment these out like pretty detailed to do some comparisons at a lot of different levels, right? Users versus new users. So it shows you, what your sessions is. All users was this, right? Our new users was this. Our converted users was down here. And then it's going to give you the lighter complexion of it down through here. Doesn't really show the blue line. Can't see that because it's up there. But where I'm going to primarily operate, because I'm more of I like to look at data, right? I like to look at the actual core numbers of what's going on. So, what I'm going to be at is, in this audience tab, you're going to have all of like your normal demographics and stuff like that. Overview, interest base. Now, the only time I'm going to be utilizing any of these kind of audience data is if I'm looking for comparisons across the networks, right? If I'm looking to compare Google to Facebook or Instagram or, my YouTube stuff to how my videos are doing on Facebook, I'm going to use these to get the demographic information, right? If I'm looking to compare the demographics within Google, then I'm going to go directly to the system, right? I'm going to look to the actual platform that has the metrics first, right? Because the thing that you have to understand about all these metrics is they take up to, there's some metrics within Google Analytics that take up to 18 hours to update, right? So your conversion data, some of your pathway data, all of that stuff takes 18 hours to update, where it updates within anywhere from 4 to 8 hours in the actual interface of AdWords, or if you're doing social with Facebook, stuff like that, they update just a lot quicker within the actual home interface rather than trying to go to analytics. So you want to look at more analytics for longer kind of like longer length patterns, right? Where you're looking at longer tail data, looking at like last month versus the previous month, right? Like if I want to do last month and compare the previous period, right? That's going to give it an effective time period. I mean, we're in the 19th of June at this point, right? So I have 19 days for all of that data to reconcile from May, and then all of April's data to reconcile. So we have almost 30 days, actually 49 days to reconcile all the data from April. So that's what I'm going to look at for comparing, some of this data that I can already find in the system. Where it differentiates itself, again, is in these acquisition and behavior flows, right? This is going to give you all your traffic information. Now, again, if I want very, very specific data from my Google Ads portions or my YouTube portions, I'm going to go to the interface, right? I'm going to go to Google Ads interface, or if I'm running social, I'm going to go to the social interface. But this gives you a good comparison, gives you some good kind of reports to go in here and do some comparison and run them head to head and really look at your overall value, right? So as you can see, we still have the metrics where we're comparing all users, new users, and converted up here. But now it gets a little bit more detail, right? We're talking about, all users. Okay, this is what our total users were. New users were up 5%. Sessions were up 5%. Bounce rate was up 0.3%. Page sessions down. Average session duration down. So I'm going to look at this. Like, oh shit, well, where's that coming from, right? Okay, let's dive deeper and let's just simplify this so we're not looking at the comparison. Now, as we're going down through it. So as I go down through here, right, if I'm looking at, okay, my overall user rate, it was down versus the previous one. Well, where's that really coming? Actually, let's put that back in there because we need to do the comparison so the lines show up. So as we're going down through here, right, we look at the bounce rate, right? So all users, the bounce rate was up a little bit. So where was it different, right? Okay, well, looks like organic search had about, the previous month had a 48% versus a 52%. So there's 1 point of it, right? Our direct had a higher bounce rate, a little bit lower bounce rate on the referral. Paid search actually had a lower one. So, I'm going to maybe move some of this stuff around where I'm going to start pushing more, PPC. Our Facebook stuff, right? Bounce rate it increased or decreased. Social stuff. Affiliates decreased. Display decreased over the previous one. So our primary, impact was really in the organic and then the direct. So that's going to be more from, what we can do on that is improve our meta tags, improve our SEO, those type of things. But from what you can also take from this is, hey, what, the paid search and social is performing a little bit better. So let's maybe increase the budgets there in order to get a little bit more traffic and outweigh the organic. Because you really want to play this dynamic between what your paid advertisements and your organic stuff, right? And there's something called diminishing return, where you're spending so much money within some outlet that it either doesn't, as you spend more money, it doesn't grow at the same percentage rate, right? So if I spend from $1,000 to $5,000 in Google, then I'm going to get a return of 25% on my money, whatever we'll do as a round number. And if I spend $5,000 to $10,000 within Google, then from that $5,000 to $10,000 mark, I'm actually going to start showing a less of a return. So I'm going to only show a 20% return. And if if I go from $10,000 to $15,000, then all of a sudden I'm only at 15% return. So you're showing a diminishing return as you go up through there. And it's the same thing with that relationship with organic, right? You always want to be lifting up your organic, because the majority of studies show that if you are having really, really good omni-channel marketing plan within Google, right? You have good, strong display, you have good, strong YouTube and good, strong search, then they should all aid the organic effort. They shouldn't pull away from it. So it's very, very important to also watch these numbers, because it may have been the fact that this last few weeks, we actually spent more money in paid search. And that's the reason why we've got the decrease. And this is where we're seeing this diminishing return, right? But it's one of those things where it's a constant kind of test, right? So next week, we're going to push a little bit more money into our paid search. and see if we don't bring these numbers down a little bit, right? If all of a sudden our bounce rate is reduces a little bit because we're getting more exposure, right? But that's what you're always going to have to kind of watch, is that there's diminishing returns within the accounts, right? Or within the actual campaigns where it's like, hey, I just can't spend any more money or contact any more customers at a profitable rate, right? Like up to this dollar amount, it only cost me $60 to acquire the customer. From this dollar to this dollar, it cost me 75, right? That's diminishing return. But there's also, like I said, the dichotomy of the relationship between search and organic search, where there, from all studies and from all my experience, and pretty much anybody that's ever done PPC, they know if you quit doing paid advertising, your organic search is going to drop, right? It's not going to just all of a sudden flood into search. You miss out on a large percentage of organic searches by not having paid ads. And the main reason that you want to kind of pay very, very close attention to this is because you may just be paying for those conversions and double serving customers that don't really need to be double served, right? They're going to go to that organic nature. So it's very, very important as you grow your Google ads that you're also watching your organic presence, because that should be coming and should be uplifted as well and should improve as you're spending money on Google, and especially as you're spending money within your display and your YouTube efforts, right? So you really, really want to make sure that you're watching these and really keeping an eye out for that diminishing return throughout the entire process. And that'll help you kind of understand, the correlation between what you're spending from your PPC into your organic. And this is basically the report where you're going to look at it on, right? The channels. You also have the source medium, which it breaks it down to a little bit different one. It shows like the Google, Facebook, and then it shows like organic, right? So it shows the network and then it shows the type. So if we would just want to type in, Google here. And it's only going to show me the Google stuff, right? Google, it's going to show Googleplex. It's just going to be stuff that has actual Google in it, right? Google CPC. And you can also filter these according to whichever number is valuable to you, right? And then you have the capabilities to associate the type of conversion. If you look at over here, kind of the default setting is going to be all e-commerce conversions, right? But if we want to just do purchase completed, we can hit purchase completed, and you'll see it'll segment it down just to that one particular goal, okay? You can also do sort type, and if you want to go further detail in here, like if you want to get a day, do day of the week. And it'll actually break it down by the day of the week for you. All right, so 4, 3, so it's at 7, right? Or the 4th, 1st, 2nd. So they're a little bit different with what you're selecting here. Now you have multiple areas where you can collect and kind of filter down the primary dimension here. So you can do source, you can do medium, you can either do keyword level. It's a Google Merchant Center feed, so there's not going to be keywords really associated with it. But you can also look at just your Google ads here, right? It gives you all the primary metrics that you have within the system. But again, keep in mind, they're a little behind, right? They're going to be anywhere from 10 to 18 hours behind, or 12 to 18. And you can also look at your Search Console data within here. Now, again, it needs to be linked to your AdWords account. It needs to be linked to your analytics account. But you can look at what the overall Search Console data is telling you, like as far as landing pages, the country, devices, all that fun stuff. Also has socials, and then you can actually look at your paid campaigns here as well, like all campaigns, paid campaigns, organic, cost analysis. Through the behavior aspect of it, the one that I look at a lot, right, is the behavior flow. Where I'm going through this particular one, and it'll really just kind of show you how they're going through the site, right? Like they landed on the home page, and then it goes into the next step of where they went, and then the first interaction was back on Google, YouTube, back in Android. You can also segment it to different things. If you want to do the source medium where they come in at, you can select that as well. And it'll show you kind of how they came in, organic, right, CPC, so on. And you can expand out these interaction points. So we kind of see out beyond that. level of detail. If we want to do this, now, analytics is incredibly robust. Okay, so keep that in mind. Like if you were trying to do this on a tablet, it's not going to run really, really well. Okay, make sure you're using either a desktop computer, a high kind of RAM laptop, something to that effect, because analytics it's 100 times larger. It's taking in all of your data from your search site, from your all your ad campaigns, from your AdWords campaign, from your search console, from all of your website interactions, both on and offline, or paid versus organic as well. So the amount of data that Google Analytics houses is crazy compared to the rest. So it may take a little bit time to load, but what this level of detail does is basically it reduces this down, right? Where you have fewer, you're only going to show these first few interactions on the site and not so much out, past the third interaction, where if you go higher level of detail, it's going to show you out to like 8 or 10 interactions. Site content is kind of cool. It shows you basically what the different information is on the site content, right? So what pages work really well, what content's drilling down to, home pages, right? Gives you very specific data, page views, unique views, bounce rate, all the fun statistics that we find value at every level. You can get them for page, content drill down, landing pages. Even look at what the exit pages are, which pages are mostly delivering them off page. And is this a thank you page? If it's a thank you page, fucking sweet. We just got a whole bunch of sales and that's the last page they're sending. But if it's our home page, not fucking great, right? The basket, right? That means you've got a lot of people that are abandoning their cart. Those kind of things you don't really want to have, the basket or your home page as your top exit page. Site speed is a very, very important one for SEO, right? You want to make sure some of this stuff is the homepage, and why people jump off of it could very easily be to your site speed, right? Page timing. If you go into here, it'll show you what the actual load time of each page is. Okay, now you can run this through the Search Console or you can do it through here. Let's go ahead and get rid of the comparison because we don't really care for this stuff. So you can do comparisons in here, right? Like bounce rate. Yeah, that's 3.87 seconds. That's not bad. Especially when you're getting to 5 to 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, stuff like that. That's way too freaking long, right? So the majority of users on this that are landing on the homepage is about a decrease in 12% over the other pages. So that's not really that great, right? So you probably definitely want to concentrate on the homepage. This one that's redesigned apparel, men's shirts. Like look at the average view rate or average for view, right? Page time, load time is horrible. And these are 81%. So you definitely can do some improvements there with understanding what pages load and what pages don't. You also have speed suggestions, which will give you some nice information. Get to this. Okay. It gives you all your site pages right that are through here, and it'll expand out some suggestions of what you can do to improve your site. It's analyzing right now. Like the page speed score maximum is 100, right? So if you're down in the 50s or 60s or 55, probably not really that great. Actually, it says it's a 45 up here, so it's even horrible. But what you can utilize is to improve that, right? First, contentful paint. First, meaningful paint. Right? Server images. This stuff is kind of the lab data. I don't really use it. It's kind of a, it's more high level. Like I want the actual, what I can do to, improve it. And, for this, it looks like honestly some of the server stuff. The events are being cached. There's too many of them. So, reduce the caching load on that. Ensure text remains visible during web front load. So That's probably where it's not, the text could load onto the page quicker. Minimize main thread work. All right, so it gives you some higher level perspective of what it is. You can also do mobile versus display. Our mobile page is horrid. And eliminate render blocking resources, remove unused CSS, properly size images. All right, if we just properly size images, that'll improve our load time by 1.32 seconds. And the load time on this is pretty damn horrible, right? Defer off-screen images, that'll save us 12 seconds. And it gives you what it actually is, right? And what to look at. Kind of work with your webmaster. If you're good at building websites, you can do it there on yourself. So that's kind of the way that I'll use a lot of the behavior stuff in here outside of the behavior flow. And then you get into the conversions. Right, your goals, this is going to be your overview of all your goals. Right? If you look at the funnel visualization, it'll show you like where, cart, billing, shipping, payment. It shows you kind of what the overall purchase funnel looks like and what the metrics are at each point. If I get a certain amount to here, then I know the certain amount are going to go to billing and shipping. I know a certain amount are going to payment, a certain amount are going to page view, and the purchase completed, right? So we get 90 purchases out of 8,000. So, it's like 1%, less than 1%, right? Way less than 1%. So we need to calculate this, right? Look at the funnel visualizations, see if you can improve these steps for any reason, right? If they're cart billing and shipping and they're already through the payment, like we should honestly get I don't know, like this 140 should match here. Really should, right? Because these are all abandons. Like what happened? Did a kid come in the room? Did a fire alarm go off? Like if they're looking at the review after putting in their payment information, like this should almost be 100%. So you definitely want to go back and review like, hey, what in my process, and do, test transactions, even if it's, submitting a lead, or it doesn't have to be buy something, right? It could be submitting a lead, acquiring about a service, right? Do a test transaction so you understand what that flow looks like, because there's no reason in the world why you should be dropping off 30% of your conversions, more than 30% actually, right here, right? That's 57 people were lost because they were reviewing their order. So what the fuck happened? Right? They put in their payment information. So you got their credit card, you got all their valuable information and payment information. There's either one of two things happen. It declined, which you'll have information on in your website, or there's something in the flow that is fucked up, right? So go back and look at that and use that funnel visualization to kind of roll through that and do improvements. So your goal flow will show you like how it actually works to your prescribed goals, right? So Google, cart, billing and shipping and payment. It's a lot like the funnel visualization, what we'll look down here in the multi-channel funnels. Smart goals. This is going to break down basically if they completed them or not, yes or no. And based off of those, what were the analytics on those? The e-commerce ones are all going to be, your shopping behavior, checkout behavior, product performance, sales performance. Let's look at shopping behavior here. It just gives you more detailed visualization. A lot of the stuff within the conversion path, it gives you these, table of metrics where you can look at and kind of compare and look at trends, but it also is going to put kind of in visually charts. So you got all sessions with 74,000, right? No shopping activity. So, basically 30% or 60% of our customers didn't really do anything, or 78% actually. So sessions with product views, right? Missed a lot there. Any view enables, you can kind of adjust what the metrics are that they're looking at within here as well. And you can add additional ones, right? Like if we want to look at bounce sessions. You can look at them in a row, right? So this is going to be your sessions. This is going to be your shopping progress. 20% made it through, 27% made it through, 24%, and 4% made it through checkout. This is your abandon rate. All right, 95% abandon rate. It's not good. Product performance, you can go in here. This will tell you the individual products. It's more, again, this is more of a shopping kind of behavior where you can actually look at your feed. White T as it goes down through here. Sales performance. That's nice. And then your product list performance. It's going to be, again, this is shopping data. So this is actually going to be in here. This is more related. A lot of this stuff is more related if you have shopping campaigns. But the sales performance, product performance, stuff like that, where you're offering, maybe you don't have a feed, but you have it on your site. That's still going to be, you're still going to get numbers through here, right? The marketing aspect, this is something that's kind of new. This is more for just additional marketing efforts. This isn't, when it says marketing, it's not like, oh, my Google ads or my Facebook, right? This is like your marketing, your internal marketing initiatives. Like I'm doing coupons, special affiliate codes, those type of things. The multi-channel funnels, this is where you're going to really kind of get a really good visual visibility of what that multi-channel look like, right? The assisted conversions. So this is going to tell you what that previous interaction was, or previous interactions, it may be multiple interactions, was before it actually made it to that final goal of converting. Now you see on here, right? Yeah, assisted conversions is what it is. And this is basically your assisted conversions. So 2,365 had a direct path beforehand. Right? Organic search, same thing. You go through assisted conversion value. This is going to be based off of whatever you set in the code of each one of your conversions, whether you set a top level, just, overall conversion value, or if you set like within the Google Analytics code, the specific item values. Okay. So this is the last click or direct conversions. Last click or direct conversion value, and assisted last click or direct conversions, right? So basically 50% of your conversions were assisted conversions. Okay, here 40% on organic search. And you can utilize that whenever you're trying to understand, hey, can I just jump these people or can I rely on my SEO? Right? And that's what you really need to use this assisted conversion, because the other thing is like, if a lot of your assisted conversions are coming from social, then hey, I need to ramp up my impact and my flow there. Display, it's not really doing a whole lot. So maybe I just need to pull my budget down, or I need to write new videos, write new messaging, write some new, basically release some sort of change in the content we're pushing out, because they're not really responding to it. And if they are ending up down here, it's making very, very little impact. They're not doing a whole lot of brand recall. There's not a lot of top of mind awareness that display is formulating, even social. Most of the top of mind awareness is being, delivered from paid search, organic search, or referrals, right? Word of mouth content. The top conversion path is going to show you, each step point where they're basically converting, right? So our top one was organic versus direct. You can look at default channel grouping paths as well. Source mediums, if you want to look at that, that's going to be your better point. So if you look Google organic versus that, Google Mail did really well. And then they went and searched and went direct to the site, Google organic direct, Google organic. So you see that, and then you can do source path as well, which just gives the actual network. It doesn't give the medium of Find It, or you can just do the medium. Right. So in all of these, you're going to have primary dimensions that are going to be in this column right here. And your secondary dimensions are going to be something that's going to go out to the side. And let's try and find. They're going to go out here to the right of it. All right. And then these are going to be your actual table of numbers and results. So this is going to be how they came in. And we look at organic. Okay. We came from organic. And we look at medium path, organic, referral, organic. Okay. Well, which one was doing the best referral? Oh, Google Mail was doing the best referral. Okay, cool. So that's how you're going to try to use that top conversion path. These time lags, again, time lag and path length are going to give you touch point information, right? How many touch points did it take for them to complete their conversion? How many days from first interaction did it take to complete their conversion? Now, again, this is going to be also predicated what numbers are displayed in here and how you set up your attribution, right? Did you set up, what was your look back window in your attribution? What did you consider a valuable impression versus a non-valuable impression? Did they have to engage with a certain impression or have 3 impressions before it was valuable? Or did they actually have to land on the web page and go through a certain depth of the page or view multiple pages before that particular touch point was determined valuable? So again, that's a little bit more, it's higher level, right? If you just went through and did the simple one based off of the default conversions and didn't really adjust the look back periods or conversion windows, then this data is going to be pretty simple. But you always just need to make sure to keep in mind that if you're seeing something in here like time lag in days and everybody is converting on this first path, well, how much value did I give to those those first impressions or those first clicks as opposed to that last one, right? So there's some variants that can be addressed there, but for the most part, if you just went through and just did the defaults, didn't really mess with any of the crazy ass if then or and or statements, then it's pretty simple, right? If they clicked on your ad, this is when they clicked on your ad, this is when they converted, and how many days in between and how many times that they had to click or were exposed to an ad is what the path length is. The attribution as well, we covered a little bit in the last module. This is basically where you can compare the different attribution models. This is more of a tool to kind of validate what you're seeing within your attribution models, right? But no matter what, pick one and stick to it, right? That's pretty much what the point of attribution models are, right? You need to maintain that consistent impression. This model comparison tool is, if you're higher level and once you kind of get it, right, you can utilize this for some value. For the most part, if you're trying to use this with explaining data to clients, or you're trying to utilize this to upsell clients, or you're even trying to make dynamic or make really progressive changes within your own account based off of the numbers you're seeing within this attribution model, don't do it. Okay, stay the fuck away from it. It's not. This is going to cause more confusion than it's worth. The reality of it is, once you get to the point where you understand, okay, if I'm looking at last interaction, but then I also want to compare last non-direct interaction, right? Then last non-direct, then I need that last interaction, right? I can validate that last non-direct interaction, I need to do one of two things. I need to either improve that experience, improve the messaging, the call to actions, the offer on that last non-direct click experience, or I just need to validate that that's part of the process, right? If it's a longer sales, more higher ticket item, then that non-direct click, that exposure to the blog article, that exposure to, them being able to check a sale on your site and then bounce back off to check Amazon, that's part of your process. It's just what it is. If it's converting at the end of the day, if your CPAs are aligning in a profitable manner, then don't fuck with it. Don't repeat, don't try and reinvent the wheel. The reality of it is, Google and their smart learning is putting these ads and these campaigns in the pathway of the customer whenever it's valuable, right? That's what's happening. As long as you have got these campaigns up, right? You have all the tracking in place, you're gathering the right data, and you're using the proper bidding models, then it's going to make the very dynamic, fast-acting changes to make sure that it's adjusting and evolving with that customer's buying cycle, and making sure that it's furthering that experience as it goes down through top-of-funnel awareness, through research phase, through social validation and loyalty validation and just company validation, all the way to that bottom touch point of actual making the conversions, right? So unless you're getting to the point where you're starting to see diminishing return, then you don't really want to start making a lot of dynamic changes based off of these attribution models, because the reality of it is you'll be able to look back at what your buying cycle is. You as the business owner, or you as the marketing expert, should be able to ask enough questions of your client to understand that, hey, this is a higher ticket item. It takes a longer sales cycle, right? For me, if I'm looking at, for a lot of my call only ads, like the auto warranty insurance stuff, they don't call back. They're not gonna, they don't call back a lot, right? When I did rehab, shit, those dudes called a shit ton. And for me to understand where that originated, sometimes I needed to understand that last click model or that last non-direct click before they went on there, because I needed to know where they came from, right? But again, you need to, before you start diving into these attribution models, and that's why I've really left it more towards the end of the course and in this accelerated division, because for you to try and reinvent the wheel and say that something is doing better than something else, unless you are willing to take that piece completely out and do a test without it completely in there, then you're never going to have an answer. But if it's converting and it's making sales, it's delivering great volume, and you're hitting your CPAs, why? You don't need to take the piece out. It's working, right? I've had many clients that have tried to say, hey, we've got this organic thing down. We can just remove certain parts, or we don't have to do this. We can go higher level. But the reality of it is, a lot of this stuff is based off of codes and feed-based targeting, right? So it needs that additional data in order to optimize the middle and bottom experience. So trying to reinvent the wheel in a lot of these scenarios is really just going to completely stop your traffic, right? You need to make sure that if you're converting at a higher, if you're converting at a better rate, I would look more going to the bids and adjusting the CPA in there, or maybe your bid caps, or even adjusting what your overall budget is or messaging before I would look to try and eliminate something, right? We've started this course. You started out with building search campaigns, right? We went into remarketing to really make sure your conversions are going through the roof. Then we talked about getting additional traffic outside of what we would find with utilizing shopping, and then putting in or display and shopping, and then putting shopping in there more as a remarketing to maybe replace the display remarketing for e-com companies. And then now we've moved on to the higher level, really top of funnel delivery through YouTube and large scale display campaigns. So you've built this funnel, right? You have the 4, 5, 6 steps that are in it. If it's working and it's becoming profitable, then it's working and it's becoming profitable. That's ultimately what you want to do. So many people try and reinvent the wheel according to their own experiences or how they shop or how they find a service or something like that, when there's 6 billion people in the world. For us to try and say that, one person is going to file the exact same model as we are it's kind of naive. And the reality of it is you need to make sure that you're allowing Google to take all this data points that it's using and optimize the campaign in the best performing manner possible. And as long as you're doing that and you're making sure that you have very, very predefined CPA goals, right? This is what might cost to sell my product. This is what I'm willing to invest to sell one product. And you're making sure that on the end of the day, when you sell that product, you sold that product, whether it be a service, an actual physical item, or whatever, then you can very easily define like, okay, this is my ROAS, right? This is what my CPA is for it, and this is my return on my investment. Now, if you want to increase that, cool. We lower bids, we do things like that, but we don't fuck with the funnel. Right? You've created this really, really nice package, and you have to realize is that the majority of customers nowadays do not buy products by viewing them on one site, right? They're not going to take advantage of services. They're going to reach out on social. They're going to reach out within the review system on Google+, on Yelp. They're going to try and do their due diligence in order to make sure when they purchase this product, one of two things is not going to happen. They're not going to get a piece of shit product, and they're not going to get ripped off and have their identity stolen, right? So those two things, those two pain points have to be solved at every single point throughout your interaction for you to build that value, build that loyalty, and ultimately make that conversion at the end of the day. And a lot of times in very, 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 very few products are you able to do that in one touch point, right? You have to build that trust. You have to put your brand on the tip of their tongue and make sure they're even aware of your product, which is one touch point, right? And then they're going to go check you out. They're going to go do their research. They're going to go ask their friends. They're going to go check the reviews, right? That's 5 touch points, right? You may not be paying for every one of those touch points, right? But having that omni-channel approach where you can be there at every single potential one of those touch points is only going to increase your value and increase your loyalty and cut your overall sales cycle as they work down through that funnel. There's a study that Google used to float around a lot of times, right? That if you have one position on the page, then it's like your 30-40% likelihood to get, a click. If you have 2 positions on the page, you're between 50 and 60% likelihood to get the click. If you have 3 positions on the page, you're 75% to 80% likely to get that click. And if you have 4 positions on the page, you're almost 100%. You're like 90+% likelihood to get that click. And the reason why that is because it validates it, right? You have your organic presence, which means the customer knows that you've been in this and you're actually putting effort into it. You're paying for ads, so they know you're financially stable, right? You have multiple ads. You're able to give them an experience through shopping, through the PPC. And then the other aspect is you have your actual business through the Google Maps location, right? You have where you actually have a physical location that they can validate as a true business, where when they give that credit card, they know they got somebody to go back to if you fuck them over, right? And that's the reason why that 4 points makes so much sense. And it is so it's still so valid and valuable in understanding whenever you're building out these campaigns, because a lot of people will perceive that, oh, I'm oversaturating it. But the reality of it is you're pushing your competitor further down the page. You're taking up more real estate. And just like if you were sitting there on a street and you had your competitor right next to you and you were head to head, but you were doing a hell of a lot better and you were just making a shit ton more money and you had the opportunity to buy their building and put them out of business, you fucking damn right well you would do that. And that's what you need to pay attention to. And you need to make sure whenever you dive into these attribution models and you dive into understanding where and how your customers interact with your clients, is because at the end of the day, the more you can push the people that you compete with out of their sight and even out of their mindset, the better off you're going to be, the more of the market you're going to command, the higher your conversion rates are going to be, the better your ROI, and you're going to put a shit ton of more money back in your pocket, right? This is about command and conquer. At the end of the day, why does Amazon do so freaking well at what they do? It's because they have the platform to house a shit ton of products. They can house anybody they possibly can. And guess what happens? If you don't do it according to their terms, if you violate them, or if you just got a product that they really, really do well with or they really like and they sell, they're going to go build it and compete against you and push you out of the market. And that's what we're trying to do with Google Ads, is push your people out of the market, push them out of the entire ecosphere of what your customers are looking for, so you can monopolize your market, monopolize your sales cycle, and make a lot more money in the process. So we'll see you in the next video as we expand on this.